In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to draw eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. So you need a couple of different pencils. I've got all of my ranges of Bs, so the softer the better so that we can do blending and shading. And then you need your sketchbook, and that is all you need. So to draw an eye, you're going to start with a circle. With a line through it, which is just a guide. And that's going to help you create the oval shape around that circle. So the top eyelid is going to go just underneath the top of the circle, and the bottom eyelid goes below it. Then you can include your pupil. These little bubbles here are for highlights. And then a little bit of the inside and the eyelid. This is where you're going to start adding some shading features. You can start erasing, but I'm going to go ahead and shade the top eyelid. Shade in the pupil. And then you're going to keep shading the lines of inside the eye. Color are like lines that all work towards the pupil. And then your shading should soften everything up. If you need to switch to a higher letter, you can. I'm still working with a B, but if you want to switch to a 4B or a 6B, that would be fine. Add shading just a little bit at a time so that you don't make it too dark, but you can always erase the graphite if it's looking too dark. And then the last thing you are going to do is add your eyelashes. They're thicker at the bottom and then they thin out. And that is how you draw an eye. If you want to practice that a couple of times, feel free. On the same sketchbook page as the eye, I'm also going to draw a nose. So I'm going to start with the general shape. I'm going to follow the guide that's on the screen. And that's going to show me like where to shade essentially. This is the part that dips down, and then inside here is the nostrils, and then the outside. And all this is kind of like a guide on how to do the shading. So your nostrils are kind of like where it's the darkest. And then the entire outside of your nose you can shade. The middle is left open because that's your highlight. So the more gentle shading you add here, the more realistic it's going to look. And that is your nose. Next, we are going to tackle the mouth. So I kind of moved over to the side of my page over here next to where my nose and my eyes are. And I think that it's a little bit easier to practice the mouth using these different like views. So I'm going to start with a view from the very front. But the mouth is kind of like super expressive, so it really matters which view you are doing based on the image that you're going to choose to do for your portrait. But I'm going to start with just like a line really lightly, and that's kind of the center of the lips. I'm going to draw a line vertically down the center of that, and then that's going to show me where to do the rest of the mouth. I'm going to include that. And then the bottom lip is something like that. That looks pretty crazy. And then again, shading here is going to be really important. Your top lip is often darker than your bottom lip. So you can practice that. That creates depth. And I'll show you one from the side as well. I'm going to start with that vertical line. That's the top lip. And the bottom lip kind of comes out a little bit and meets up with that top lip. Something like that. So you can practice all of these elements a couple of different times. Try a couple different views. Last, we are going to draw an ear. So I'm going to draw the general outside shape, side view of an ear, really lightly, just the lobe. And your ear kind of has this like inner ear structure. And this one's all about shading as well. So this is the connection line where it connects to your head. And then shading is really important here. Kind of like blocking those shapes. And then blocking the lower shape as well. The ear is a little bit more complicated of a like shape, so if you want to look at different illustrations, it can help you kind of like figure out shading patterns, shapes, that kind of thing. The more reference photos you use, the better kind of like view and angle you're going to have. And then once you have kind of your general shading done, you can start darkening in some places to create that like depth. The softer and more blended you shade, the more realistic your ear will turn out. And that goes for all of the facial features that we're drawing in this lesson. Blending is key. So practice as many as you'd like to, and then upload your sheet when you are finished.